I am pleased and excited to have as our guest today Anaiya Sophia. Anaiya Sophia is an independent mystic of an almost forgotten faith and a teacher of Kundalini Yoga. She carries an oral transmission from the sacred feminine mysteries which she weaves into all her gatherings. This mystical tradition is a continuous lineage with the feminine principle that throughout the centuries has preserved its spiritual dignity without need for permission or recognition from any other source. Anaiya breathes the wisdom of the feminine principle into the transformational processes we long for. She recognizes the need for initiation and uses the vast intelligence of her years to orchestrate those rites of passage. Her methods carry the hallmarks of a mystic so unmistakable in today's sugar-coated world of partial truth and placating love. Her ferocious allegiance to direct experience and radical revelation imparts a wisdom that inflames you. Anaiya is no spiritual lightweight. She has spent the first half of her life soaking up the Christ teachings of the Sacred Heart and Mary mysteries of the Holy Body. She now turns her attention to gnosis, the absolute in your face, obliterating truth of direct connection. Her realm of transformation lies within the internal conflicts and influences within us that resist the staggering awakening that lies before us. She beckons us toward the initiatory rites and powerful processes that ignite the permission and power to speak up, revealing our divine remembrance in ways that can and must be lived. She addresses head-on the many challenges that stand in our way and the inner alchemy to overcome them. Her books include Open Your Heart with Kundalini Yoga, Pilgrimage of Love, Womb Wisdom, Sacred Sexual Union, The Rose Night, Sacred Relationships, the Practice of Intimate Erotic Love. Anaiya lives in the Occitan region of southern France with her beloved husband, Pete Wilson. They operate a bed and breakfast where individuals and small groups can come and stay. All their guests leave forever changed. Anaiya is able to conduct baptism, marriage, divorce, and death rite ceremonies. Welcome to the summit, Anaiya.
Oh, thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, what a wonderful bio you have. So extensive, and I can't wait to begin questioning you about it. So, on this summit, we are speaking all about self-love and radical acceptance, what it means, what it looks like, how we can embody more of it into our lives. And I know that you focus a lot on sacred relationships, on self-love, and women speaking their power and their truth. And, when we speak about women and their ability to be extremely intuitive, right? It's sort of our superpower, so to speak.
Yes.
Right. But in your experience and your understanding, why do so many women, so many of us, hold back or cut off that part of that creative power, that sense of us that is our birth-given right?
I would say by living in the West, that part of us simply hasn't been encouraged or even strengthened, in our lifestyle, in our way of life. It's as if we are encouraging more the masculine traits, which is the motivation, the go out there and become bigger, brighter, better, faster. And so that is the sacrifice, if you like. By taking on so much of the masculine energy, we have had a tendency to lose the feminine intuition.
And so how can women go back? How can they reintegrate that part of themselves? How can they strengthen and ignite their intuition?
I would say the first thing a woman would have to do is definitely take a step back from that external masculine drive to be out there and achieving and scoring and accumulating. So see the masculine motivation for what it is. It is a incessant drive to become distracted in the external world, whereas the feminine intuition is very much an interior exposure, an interior exploration. And for that, you need to slow right down, become quiet, and keep the external noise to an absolute minimum.
And are there exercises or daily practices that women can incorporate? Any rituals to help strengthen their intuition?
I would say get outside. Mm-hmm. Get outside in nature, in woodland, by the ocean, in the desert, mountains, caves, sacred springs, and simply learn to slow down and again, like I said earlier, see the masculine drive for what it is, a constant pull to externalize your whole being. So meditation, yoga, dance, anything that's going to turn you inward for your resources.
And so it's possible to, more women are achieving more higher positions in corporate America and, Fortune 500 companies, and they're already balancing high-powered jobs, children, raising families. It's oftentimes carving out that individual time and space that women struggle with.
Yes.
And
yes.
so the difficulty of even achieving even a semblance of peace and harmony in their own lives is a challenge, yet alone finding time to practice, strengthening their intuition.
And this is something we have to be careful of, because as a woman, we have this other innate ability, which is to multitask. Right. So we will be able to raise the kids, and we will be able to hold down that CEO position, and we will be able to get in a quick family holiday. But there may well be a price. And that, in our era, is known as burnout. Mm-hmm. Because of this ability to multitask, we can actually balance more than the men. But by golly, the feminine glandular and nervous system is not able to do that for too long.
Right. And so would you say that the intuition and our creative power, do they go hand in hand? Is there a differentiation between the two? Does the intuition allow us to tap into our creative power? What's your distinguish between the two?
I would say our creativity, especially creativity in the mind, is available 24/7 without the intuition being deep and, daily attuned to. But should you develop the intuition as well, your creativity will most likely change shape and form, because I believe it's very much coming from a different place. When we intuit, it's almost coming from more of the primordial parts of the woman. We could say that's the womb space, the womb power, whereas our minds are just endlessly creative. So when it comes to ideas and projects, we can just keep on spilling that out all day long. But if we're after something with a deeper essence, then we might start turning more to the inner sanctum of the feminine, and that's where she's going to find her intuition.
I see. When I birthed Love Sanctuary, it was during a difficult time in my life, and my heart was just wide open. And it was during that time, when my heart was open and vulnerable, and I was deeply connected to the rawness of my heart, where where everything started coming out. The creativity that I didn't even know I had or was aware of was just pouring out of me. And so, my what I attributed to that was really not only silencing my mind and the outer chatter and even my internal chatter, it was also just being cracked open. Is that part of, just being open? Is that what women also need to do, is just allow that vulnerability to come out?
Absolutely. And those emotions are just filled with artistry. I mean, the greatest poets are often speaking from that broken-hearted place. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes everything so alive and so tangible, and people can taste it immediately upon hearing that level of artistry. And in truth, that is what woman brings to the world. She brings her emotional colors and landscape and terrain. And again, if we get a little bit too top heavy with the masculine energy, that part won't be coming to earth.
Right.
Mind will be coming to earth. Brilliant, fabulous ideas. But that ability to touch another person, that is the feminine part of us.
And you're right, it's not encouraged. And, we're often thwarted from touching our own vulnerability. It's not encouraged. And sometimes people might be afraid to even face their own vulnerability or to feel their own pain. But yet you're just saying that it's our feminine duty to touch into those places of our hearts, as difficult as it may be, and where most of our creativity may be birthed from, you said, that heartbroken space.
That's right. And that is what creates community. I mean, whenever we see or hear someone in their vulnerability expressing themselves, we immediately start gravitating towards them. This is what binds us. This is what bonds us. This is what makes us like other human beings. It's so necessary. The feminine creates community. She is that embrace. She is that round table. And she invites everyone, to pull up a chair and come and sit and be with this. And we like it, As humans, we're like little bees around a pot of honey. We want, and most likely we deeply miss that part often.
I agree. I definitely, in my own power, feel more strengthened the deeper I allow myself to touch my vulnerability. And, one of the things about this summit is that I want to sort of dispel the notion that self-love, this radical self-love, means that we always feel good. That it's not just an emotion, it's embracing those vulnerabilities, that rawness, that pain, that sadness, and giving comfort to the heart. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's encouraging women, don't you think, to allow the vulnerability, allow the pain to surface, allow the healing to take place.
Absolutely. And it's always so bittersweet. It's like a beautiful agony. It's always a paradox. There's an agony and then there's a tenderness. Oh. There's a bitterness and there's a delicateness. And it's just gorgeous. Gorgeous to start opening it all up.
It is. I would attest to that. And so people can see vulnerability, intuition as a gift, as an act of self-love. Would you agree with me, Anaiya?
Absolutely. And also I would say to the listeners, at the beginning, you might say, I cannot feel anything. I don't sense any kind of pain or tension. Just check that that's not a layer of numbness. Because if we have been operating mostly in our masculine energy with the great big drive to be successful out there may be a desensitization over the heart and its, inner longings and inner feelings. And what I used to do at the very beginning was to pray to God, to the divine, and simply say, please melt my numbness. Please help me to start feeling again.
Right. And what about journaling along with that? Prayer, meditation, journaling?
Yes. Absolutely. I'm a big journaler.
Yeah.
Yes. And I always, I have Q&A in my journal. I ask myself questions and I answer back.
Right. And do you ever do it with your alternate dominant, your non-dominant hand, writing hand?
No, that's a great idea.
That's sort of inner child work when we use the sometimes you can ask the question with your dominant writing hand and then answer it from your non-dominant hand, which can be your more.
That's very good.
Yeah, your creative response.
Yes.
I love that. So in your course, you speak about permission and power to speak up as a woman. And
yes.
Right, we talk about self-expression and speaking our truth and our authentic voices. Those are exemplary of self-love. How do you coach and teach your clients and audience to speak their truth and to say yes when they mean yes and no when they mean no? When women often tend to be, natural caregivers and oftentimes overgivers. How do you help them? How do you help them? Yeah, how do you help them set boundaries guiltlessly and still speak their truth?
Well, I find that the most potent environment for a woman to find her voice is in a circle of women, because we all know this tendency to people please, to not say no, to say maybe or I don't know. We've got it down. We know how this program works.
Absolutely.
And so gently over a course of days, once the circle has formed trust, we start to let the real truth out. And of course, we can play act and we can do family constellations and we can set up circumstances that really challenge the voice to come out clearly and powerfully and loudly. And so I find that this gift is being given back through a circle of women.
So women need to find community.
Yes, they need the support that they can go there and access their truth and deliver it to a circle of women, even if it's not beautiful, and it be okay and it be heard and be received.
But what about the woman who, has always been a people pleaser? And how did you help her deconstruct that pattern? That the more I do, the more I help, the more I burn out, as you said earlier, the better I am. I'm more loved, I'm more accepted.
Well, one of my favorite pieces is what's known as sacred rage.
Oh, I saw that. Tell us about sacred rage.
Sacred rage is kind of like a great build-up towards the end of the time together, where you find the cause that you love the most, absolutely love the most, something you would lay your own life down for. And for me, this would be animals. Mm-hmm. So, once you've built that container of trust, I would just start, provocatively voicing and telling stories and, getting the ladies aroused and in touch with this, this emotion that they may have about their loving cause, and putting them in touch with their whole body and their womb and the energy of the earth, and with a great big prayer first of all, and then get them to fiercely express the whole magnitude of their emotion around this particular subject.
That's great. I
and
like the idea.
It doesn't even need to be English. It can be just a roar of sound. And, for the people pleasers and the shy ones, this is radical. This is unheard of. This is a turning point.
I love that. I've suggested to clients to find someone trusted that they can speak and share their truth with, but I love the idea of really practicing it in community.
Yes. And of course, with a circle of ladies around them, sounding and breathing and rocking and encouraging, it's pretty big. When it comes up, it's huge.
It does. I would agree with you. I've seen clients and friends who've joined circle of women groups, and just their strength and power that has grown from these groups of women is truly impressive, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to witness. And so I agree with you. I would encourage women to join groups, and is there a concrete, practical, other than groups, something that someone could practice at home about, maybe a list of things, of something that they do? Is this going to serve me or not serve me? How can they, when they're juggling between saying yes or no, is there an exercise or a thought or something they could run through?
I would say the first thing to do is to actually find that cause. Find that cause that you would be really willing to get into, and that would be your motivation. Is it the pollution of the planet? Is it the animals? Is it war? Is it the Me Too campaign?
Right.
What is it? What could you truly get behind and allow this kind of like noble anger, it's a sacred rage, noble anger to absolutely come through you? First of all, you must find your cause, because that's what keeps it sacred. If you're going to just draw on your own personal stories of your wounding, then it's going to very easily slip into a dark shadow expression. And that's not what we're after. We're after holy fury, sacred rage, a force of power that's coming out because of goodness. It's going to serve goodness. No one's going to get harmed, but by golly, everyone's going to listen.
Right. And as you noted, that wound that a woman may have could also be the pathway to her cause.
Yes.
And I remember hearing, I don't remember where, find your purpose, find your direction. And once you know where you're going, you know what to say yes to. And if it's not going to bring you closer to that, then maybe you're supposed to say no.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And in my book, a don't know is still a no.
Indecision is a decision.
Yes.
I've heard that a lot over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know is still an answer. So yeah, I hope this encourages women to take a stance and, take things off their plate that are overburdening them, that are, taking time away from them, committing to themselves. What are some of the things that you think that women can do to sort of daily prioritize? Do you believe in list goals? Do you believe in writing a list of to-do things daily?
Well, yes, but that's still the masculine part of us, you see. So I would say keep all lists and thinking to an absolute minimum.
Oh.
And just get barefooted and stand upon the ground and feel with the whole sole of your foot and every single toe pad. And then breathe that earth energy up and bring it into the womb space, bring it into the ovaries and the fallopian tubes. And it's not a reproductive exercise and it's not a sexual exercise, but this is your throne. This is your true and sovereign seat of power. And if you can feel the earth energy making that union, that connection between your human body and the source of natural energy, then that is a game changer. Now that is feminine work. That is a woman getting in contact with her feminine self, and it's so simple.
You struck a chord with me because I keep a to-do goal list, but
yes.
But it keeps me centered and focused, and but I don't know if I would remember everything if I didn't write it down.
I totally understand, Angela. I'm exactly the same. But centered, focused, this is masculine. This is what he loves. And I don't mean masculine as in man.
Right.
Masculine energy. He loves to be centered and focused. Whereas feminine is a little bit chaotic and swirly.
Okay.
She's a little bit lost, but it's totally okay. She's lost in the drunken ecstasy of the connection with her own being. Do you see what I mean? We need 50% of that, 50% of the to-do list.
I will try this. Well, it'll be an interesting experiment, and I'll let you know. Will I still get things done, or maybe things will express themselves differently?
Yes, yes. I asked all of these questions myself, and what happened was more creativity. And I was able to remember it all. That was my fear. If I got into the swirling ecstasy, if I got into my feminine and the creativity started to flow tremendously, and then I panicked. I was like, oh my God, I got to write this down because I'm going to forget. But I didn't write it down. And I never, ever forgot. The moment it was time to do the to-do list, out it comes.
Right.
Accurate, precise, absolutely remembered.
I find that, and that even if I forget it in the moment, it comes back because I'm connected to it in a deeper way than just in my mind.
Yes.
So it's going to be revisited. It's going to come back.
Absolutely.
I love that. And so in your 9 Fierce Feminine Transmissions and your Permission and Power to Speak Up as a Woman course, you address, I think, 7 different areas in which women can expand their power.
Yes. I basically use the chakra template.
Oh,
starting from to sacral to navel. And so it's all these different, the permission and power to, speak about the right to survive, the right to belong, the right to be here. and the permission and power to speak about the right of your sexuality and your sexual partner and the way you express yourself and your reproductive health. So it's the voices coming through the 7 chakras, at full velocity.
Right. And
but not from a selfish place.
Mm-hmm.
Totally, seeing the whole picture and the balancing and the harmony of all of the life around you.
And when you say speak up, this doesn't necessarily mean actually being vocal, does it? Or does it? Or is it just
mostly? But it's also about speaking up to yourself.
Right? That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, and absolutely bringing it to the outside world as well, but not as some sort of hysterical display.
Right, that's what I mean. It's like this is mostly the voice and recognition you tap into within yourself.
Absolutely, but also not being afraid, to go to your boss and say, "Hey, not being treated fairly," or to go to your mother or your father or your husband, your son, to where the voice may have broken down and got wishy-washy and vague. Now we build it back up, we make it strong, and we make it heard. Police, authority figures, banks, money, taxes don't need to be afraid of that area of life anymore.
I love that. I love that. So I want to switch gears just for a moment and talk about your book, Pilgrimage of Love.
Okay.
Right, where you speak about the difference between soulmates versus beloveds. And I'd love if you would differentiate between the two, and then also how this ties into women loving themselves and how they can either channel or open up to embracing, attracting that individual into their lives.
Well, one of my understandings on it all, and of course I'm not an expert, it's just my own inner musings that across the board seem to make sense. So this being that we call the soulmate. So a soulmate relationship, the way I understand it, is when two people come together and they feel that immediate recognition and familiarity and ease ability to be together. When you look back at that relationship during and after, you will see that the two of them, their union brought together the greatest aspects of the two people involved. So the two became more and more and more of their true selves, but true individual and sovereign selves. So with a soulmate, there's this idea of union and merging and becoming one. This is not the conversation. The soulmate brings out the greatest hidden qualities inside of the other. And so two fabulous individual beings emerge during and after the soulmate relationship. Mm-hmm. Whereas the beloved relationship or the twin flame, those individuals have now come together and they don't want to be more individual or more independent. They are now interested in merging. So that definite two-ness is definitely heading in the direction of oneness. They want to dissolve and let go of and diminish their individual expressions. And that, for me, is the clear hallmark. What's what when I come into contact with people, I see what is the trait here, what is the tendency.
And so, do you attach soulmates exclusively to romantic partnership, or is soulmates, can that be exchanged between two platonic people, friendships?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. All kind of relationships. Oh, yeah. Students, teachers, brother, sister, even lovers, friends, Animals, oh my God, absolutely animals.
Oh, yes, animals, animals.
Yeah.
Well, so then let's talk about the beloved then, and women that are people that are listening that want to experience the beloved. How do they become their own beloved so that they can draw in a beloved?
Well, first of all, I would say turn your attention to that inner marriage work. What we were saying at the beginning of the interview, there's the masculine part of us, which is very focused on the external expression, motivation, achievements, direction, goals, that part of us. And then there's the feminine part of us, which is intuitive, imaginative, deeply feeling, deeply longing, yearning to be met by some other, and that other may be visible or invisible, but she's forever dancing. She's forever, wanting to open to the great unknown. And so that is a massive dilemma.
Right.
If half of us wants to go out there and create fabulous Facebook profiles, and the other part just wants to put her dress on, burn incense, and just dance for the beloved quietly in the forest,
Right.
there's your relationship problem.
Right.
So what we need to do, first of all, is absolutely totally love and recognize and honor those very two distinct drives, and not see it as a tug of war, but to start working on harmonizing and giving each part equal airplay. Not polarizing in one, not preferring one and condemning the other, because that's the old paradigm relationship model. So if we can understand our inner marriage, now we stand a chance to be able to do it with the other one when he or she shows up.
Ooh, that's so good, Sophia. So valuable. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And so when we speak, you also speak about that we're in a different time now where women are creating, seeking love beyond the beloved, beyond the marriage, where they're experiencing love in friendships and partnerships and at work, and that we're just in a time where love is just, it's the thing. It's what everyone wants. We want to experience it. We want to create it. We want to touch it. We want to feel it. What do you say about all this?
Oh, fantastic. About time.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There's in the old Greek language, there's so many words for love, not just one. That's the most fabulous thing. In English, we just have one word, love. Mm-hmm. Whereas in ancient Greek, there's so many. And my favorite one is agape. Agape is the big devotional love. And that's the one that I am pursuing at the moment. I've always pursued agape, but especially so at the moment. Reading that Sufi poetry, hearing that music, allowing yourself to pray to the point of tears of gratitude. That is a very nice experience.
It is.
Yeah.
Prayer, every call that interview that I've had so far, gratitude has come up in every one. As an experience, as an exchange, as an offering of love.
Yeah.
So I think I hope people that are really listening, that they take away the importance of gratitude.
Yeah.
And that offering. I really love that you said that prayer of gratitude till you're drawn to tears. But your prayer is an offering, a thank you.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and I do think that, and it's beautiful to witness, because I see women, including myself, experiencing, like you said, love and friendships and in community. Women want to, their friendships have become just as paramount to them as their partnerships, their marriage, their jobs. It's this sense of community and love, just going back to everything you just said, the importance of community. In my experience, and maybe I'm just more aware of it, but I feel like women are really striving for that balance more than I've ever witnessed before.
Yes, definitely. That sisterhood thing is really awakening now. The old conditioning of compare and contrast and compete. And, that is, I mean, it's up. It's very up and it's very obvious. And it's also beautifully dissolving and thinning and just, being dispersed with all of these women's circles that are happening around the planet. Yeah, and I'm starting to see women like, really joyfully enjoying one another's company as the barriers and all the masks come down.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And so, yeah, I'm just listening as you're saying this. So the competition that is often riddled in friendships between women, that's a masculine energy, you're saying.
How do you mean?
Meaning, there tends to often be sometimes a competition amongst women. Sometimes
Yes.
There's tearing the other one down instead of lifting each other up in sisterhood. So
Yes.
Are you saying, going back to what you said previously, that competition amongst women that we've experienced since, little girls on the playground, high school,
Yes.
is that is that the masculine energy you're speaking of?
I wouldn't say that's masculine energy. I would call that patriarchal.
Ah, okay.
So for me, patriarchal, especially where it is now, is a distorted shadow frequency, shadow energy. And this is, I believe, one of the greatest little tricks that the patriarchal tendency has overlaid over womankind. Compare and contrast, get them to start distrusting from each other, start distrusting one another from a very early age. And of course the media and the movies and the other woman and the mistress, and you can't relax because some dangerous lady is going to come in and take what's yours, and what a great little program to keep us separated and divided. Yes, I don't think that's masculine energy that's done that, but patriarchal energy. And to me, patriarchal energy is shadow masculine, absolutely refusing to harmoniously play with the feminine. So it's got the power, and by golly, it's holding on with white knuckles. And it's all about control.
Thank you for clarifying the difference between the patriarchal energy and the masculine energy. So the masculine energy doesn't have to have this negative connotation.
No, not at all.
Understood. Not at all. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So before we close, I wanted to ask, we're closing each interview with giving some practical guidance to each listener. And how can we love ourselves more? How can we love ourselves?
I would say for a woman, again, to come into contact with nature, to give herself that empty space where she can just pull up her journal, whether it's on the porch or in her favorite chair or in a little corner of the garden or terrace, whatever she has available. And she actually has this 2-hour window of empty beingness where she can be with her journal, not expected to achieve any sort of result, but just have that quiet aloneness where she can start to, tune into that womb space and the divine, and just resource herself from her sacred origins.
Thank you. What's next for Anaiya Sophia? What exciting adventure can we look forward to from you?
Well, it looks like we're going to be moving house next year to an even beautiful B&B little mini retreat center. So we're staying in the same Occitan region of the south of France, of course. I doubt we'd ever move from this area. But yes, we're starting to look at other premises. And now we're totally considering more land, which means more animals.
Oh, great. Great. Do you have
I
another?
keep going on about nature.
Absolutely. You're in the best place for it. Is there a new retreat already scheduled? Is there a book or anything else coming up for us?
No, there could be a bit of book writing this winter. The
Great.
next retreat will be Easter in France. And if anyone from the UK is listening, not sure, I'll be at London Alternatives in March, which is a very sort of prestigious venue in London,
Lovely.
but mostly found in the south of France, doing little grail quests with my beloved hubby Pete.
Oh,
Because, Pete does the man's work.
right.
So we have a whole host of masculine and feminine adventures together.
Beautiful. And does he participate in your retreats, your husband?
Yes, he does. Absolutely. He is the sacred masculine. So all the ladies can ask him 1,001 questions and get the inner lowdown on why men do and say the things that they do and say. And how is this journey for them? What is it that makes a man tick?
This is great.
So it's fabulous. He's totally available for all those questions.
And more details on the retreat are on your website?
Yes, all on the website.
AnaiyaSophia.com. Thank you so much. Good luck in all your future endeavors. And thank you so much for joining us on this summit and sharing all your jewels with us. It's been a lovely pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you, Angela. And, maybe one day you'll come to France.
Well, as I'm listening to you speak about it, I'm like, Easter next year.
Yes.
Yeah. What month is Easter, in March or April this year?
It's the last weekend of March, going over into April the 1st.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to look at the calendar and consider it. This sounds very, very interesting, and I would love to see where you live and experience that and be around sacred relationships and friendships.
Yes, beautiful.
Great.
I enjoyed this, Angela. Thank you so much.
I did as well. Thank you, Anaiya.